What's up, guys? Welcome back to Mind Pump TV. I'm your host, Danny Matrenga, and today we're gonna break down squat mobility. This is something I get a ton of questions about, and it seems to be pretty problematic even for some experienced lifters. And don't get me wrong, while the squat is a very technical movement, I wanna show you guys my 4 must-do moves to really help unlock your hips, knees, ankles, and thoracic spine so you can squat to the best of your capability. Now, key phrase there, your capability. Everybody's squat is gonna be way different. If you're a taller dude, you're gonna probably have a lot different squat than a shorter dude, right? If you're a female who has wider hips, you're gonna have probably a lot of a different looking squat than a female with narrower hips. Point being, individual limb length and individual skeletal structure, even down to the hip level, plays a huge role in how your squat is going to look at the end of the day. That being said, these drills and mobility techniques are gonna help you unlock the best squat for your body and your mechanics so you can squat safely for a long time. Let's get into it. All right, guys, so first stretch is for the hip flexors. The hip flexors is a general term for the group of muscles that kind of make up the anterior front portion of the hip. And for some people, they can be a little bit tight, whether that's from things we do from day-to-day life, potentially weakness, a variety of things. So getting this tissue prepped before we squat is really important. My favorite way to prep it before I squat is by going into this half kneeling position here. I have my foot firmly anchored on the ground in front of me, and I'm gonna be stretching the back hip. From this position, what I'm going to do is I'm gonna extend my hip forward, keeping my torso up. What that does is that starts to stretch the hip flexors in this fashion. Now from here, I like to take my arm and actually stretch up overhead, and I'm thinking about getting tall and getting vertical. And if I think about getting vertical as I push my glutes forward, what I'm gonna start to feel is I'm gonna start to feel kind of a stretch right in here, in between the lower portion of my abdomen and the upper portion of my quad. I'm gonna hold that for about 30 seconds. Now, after you've stretched that hip flexor while you're in this position, feel free to go ahead and just reach back like this, right? And stretch that same quad, right? If you're somebody who feels tightness in your quad or you just wanna prep that prior to training, you're more than welcome to do that. Or you can turn it into a full-blown, what we call lizard stretch, where maybe we reach up like that. And these are all different ways to kind of stretch that hip flexor complex. The rectus femoris, the biggest muscle in the quad, is also a hip flexor, so that quad stretch is nice. But anything in that half kneeling position will really help you open up the front of the leg, right? And from there, we want to move on to the thoracic spine. All right, guys, second move for the thoracic spine, okay, your mid-back. This is a big component of the squat. We need to keep it rigid, we need to keep it stable and vertical, and a lot of us kind of come forward into too much spinal flexion. We round forward too much, especially on things like front squats or really heavy back squats. So we're not really foam rolling our back and spine with the intention of just rolling it up and down. All I want you guys to do is place it right around your mid-back, okay? Just below your shoulder blades. And from here, just focus on articulating backward and forward, and backward and forward at different positions on the roller to open up that thoracic spine. And you can get some rotation in here too. Right, we're not doing this. You'll see this a lot in the gym. I really want you to focus on extending and flexing and kind of trying to open it up, so that hopefully when you do get into that squat position, you're able to hold this vertical torso, right? You're able to be strong in this position and you're not kind of pulled here just from residual tightness that may be happening from your day-to-day activities. Once you've knocked out the thoracic spine, then it's on to the knee. All right, guys, so the third movement is for the knee. This is a controlled articular rotation. This is borrowed from the FRC mobility system, and this is a really good way to kind of get that knee open, nice and greased up so you can squat easily. The setup is really simple. We take the same side arm as the knee we're gonna be working on, reach under the knee and grab the opposite bicep, okay? Once you've got that, you take that hand and you kind of put your knee in a nice little chokehold here. That way it can't run away from you and you've got it nice and stable. From here, we're going to go through a series of rotations at the ankle and at the knee, but what we really want to track right here is the tibia. The tibia is the main bone in your lower leg. It's often referred to as your shin, and you're kind of going to be able to feel around for it. So what we do after we've gotten into a chokehold here is we put our foot into flexion, or our knee, right? We start to go into extension. Then we go into rotation at the foot, flexion down, rotate over, extension, rotation, flexion, rotate over. You can go back, up and around, up and down. And what we want to try to do is get some movement out of that tibia. What I want to be kind of looking for is, do I feel my tibia moving as I go through these rotations? And I might have to switch arms. For some people, it's different. I like same side arm. But what I'm trying to do is get a lot of flexion and extension out of that knee, as well as some rotation out of that tibia and ankle. And that actually helps us open up our ankle too, which is the fourth movement, which we'll get into right now. All right, guys, last joint. And you might actually be surprised to hear this, but this is actually the joint I've found to be the most problematic in my years training. A lot of people assume it's the hip or the knee just because they're bigger joints, but a lot of people's squat mobility and the issues that they have with their squat stem from a mobility issue at the ankle, right? So one of the best things we can do to mobilize that ankle is this little band stretch right here. Very simple setup, very easy to get into, won't take you guys too much time at all. All we need is a band just like this, wrapped around something sturdy, and you're going to move it right below the ankle bones here, okay? If it's too high up, you're not gonna get the same effect. We want it below this bone right here called the malleolus, right up against this kind of flat portion of the foot. From here, we wanna take a little bit of a step forward so there's some force pulling back. And then all we need to do is get the most, and slowly work towards getting the most forward knee travel we possibly can without our heel coming up. And we're just working on mobilizing that ankle. You might feel a little bit of a stretch in here in this Achilles tendon region, but this is what we want to do. Get that guy nice and loose. Get the other leg. And after that, you've knocked out all of the main components, right? You've got the hip flexor warmed up, the thoracic spine ready to go, the knees and the ankles. And I guarantee you this stuff will help your squat improve. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you liked the video, make sure you like, comment, interact with us down there. We read those all the time and answer tons of questions. And subscribe to the channel. Have an awesome day.